You are watching Getting Tabled.
In 3, 2...
Getting Tabled.
Getting Tabled.
Getting Tabled.
Getting Tabled.
Getting Tabled.
Getting Tabled.
With the Bruce and the Yank.
Hello, future people, and you are again listening to Getting Tabled with your host. He hasn't had Captain Crunch, the Bruce.
No, I've never had Captain Crunch because we have breakfast cereal, not sugar, for breakfast over here.
It is a breakfast cereal. It just happens to be made of like fiberglass and crack and like tears up the roof of your mouth as you eat it. And you're like, ow, my mouth hurts as you're pouring a second bowl.
I'm confused. Are you trying to convince me to have this or not? Because you're supposed to be convincing me it's good, but you make it sound horrible.
Right. It just destroys your mouth. I mean, it's good.
I'll have to take your word for that. There is like specialty shops where you can get US cereals over here, but by the time that I was old enough to know where these shops were, I was kind of a bit over children's cereal. I've had Frosties, which is like
over children's
cornflakes covered in sugar and sugar and sugar.
That's not a thing. You don't get over children's cereal. I mean, that's part of the reason why you have kids, is so you can have an excuse to buy children's cereal.
Sure, let's go with that theory.
Speaking of theories, I don't have any.
Well,
Newly
maybe we
received
should...
or noteworthy information.
That one.
Especially about recent or important events.
So, it's been an interesting week.
Lots has been happening. So much has been happening that I haven't been paying attention to it.
Well, the big news for this week, of course, is Lumineth is releasing a box for Games Workshop. So this is very similar to the Sisters of Battle box set that we had last December, where it's priced up to wazoo. Keep in mind that you're looking at an Australian link on that.
I was about to crap myself, Bruce.
So DLs is releasing with a box of 16 miniatures, and in Australia that's going to cost you $310. I don't know what it's costing in the US. I don't know if you could try changing the thing. Okay, so we're getting screwed again. Nothing unusual. Look, these miniatures have definitely been love or hate. There's been very little middle ground in most of the community on these. I actually quite like them. They're not an army I'm ever going to buy. I'm not really huge on elves. But they're pretty miniatures. And the first new sculpts of cavalry that I think we've had. I could be wrong.
So I did see a post earlier today in one of the Warhammer groups I'm in on Facebook, and it's a special character sculpt, but it's literally like a vertical rock holding the mini onto the base. I mean, we're talking like the most precarious of break points. So,
I saw that post too, actually. I don't know if that was one of these, though.
It was. It was very much one of these.
It's from this army, but I don't think it's somebody from this box set, because there's nobody in this box set that's set up like that.
It's not. Yeah, no, it's not. They're not in this box set. It is a different. If only there was like a website that had everything listed. We could. Oh wait.
Yeah. So for those that are wondering what we're talking about, there's a miniature that is standing on a rock that is balancing on like a triangle-shaped rock that is then balancing on other rocks. And there's a connection point that's like this small. Now, it is plastic, but it's going to be very precarious.
Yeah.
In Australia, the box set that we're talking about, the original one we were talking about, sorry. So $310 divided by 16 is $19.37 each. So they're basically $20 a mini, which is
That's excessive.
That's
no,
fairly
granted.
normal.
Well, so we have to break it down a little more here too, though, Bruce. You are getting a rule book. You are getting, the faction book. It looks like you're getting the army deck set of dice, which that's not much of a value add. A little close combat measuring tool, not much of a value add, and some tokens. So the core rule book and the faction book, I think those are good value adds. So I'm looking at my price of 185. You figure $40 for both those books. That puts you at 145. If you up it a little bit towards $60, it's 125 for the minis. That seems to be on par, I think, once you take into account the two books.
Yeah, pretty much. 185 US dollars is 270 Australian dollars. So we're being ripped off by about $40, which is better. That's actually better than the Sisters of Battle one was, quite frankly.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
We were getting ripped off by like $80 or $90. I don't remember the exact price difference. We did discuss it at the time, but it was a while ago.
Okay. Next, something you're probably pretty excited about.
Green Goblin has shown up. This is not the first time we've seen the Green Goblin mini. For an event last year that skips my mind, when we still had events, we saw like a distant shot of this, but we've got a nice close-up shot of the Green Goblin from Marvel Crisis Protocol on his Goblin glider. He's very much sculpted after the comics and not the movies. I will admit, I wouldn't mind seeing one from the movie. I feel like I'm one of the only people that likes that costume. I definitely like the actor.
Yeah, well, no, Defoe killed that part. I liked the concept of the armor. I liked the concept of the glider. I didn't like the concept of the pumpkin bombs, where they were just like little grenades. I thought they could be a little something extra. So it does look cool. The glider, of course, looks spot on for just either the book. Or, yeah, it's a great looking mini. Excuse me there.
The way that the smoke has been sculpted really, really works for it too, because you can see how it's kind of come up and turned in the air.
Yeah, for sure.
I suspect that those pumpkin bombs are going to be separate pieces. Just a guess.
Possibly.
I can almost guarantee it. Or at least part of it will be.
So, now these are plastic?
Yes.
Kits or
hard plastic,
okay.
Yep.
So they probably, there's some assembly is required.
Oh, yeah.
I'm saying, the pumpkins may need to be assembled then for sure, so.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if at least part of the pumpkin was not connected to the hand, which means that we'll then get to listen to complaints about it for weeks on end, like anything else. But moving on, TT Combat have released some French city terrain. So this is definitely more aimed at your historical gamer side of things. So this is very much World War II-esque and so on and so forth.
Yeah, if you scroll all the way down to the bottom, there's the looks like everything that they have listed, on the page for the most part, put together in one little, corner thing. And it looks very pretty.
It's a really nice. The buildings can all be connected together to become one giant structure, and it's gorgeous. The thing I really like that fountain. Because that fountain, I mean, it is definitely French-esque, but that could fit into any city board you wanted.
It could fit into modern Gothic, fantasy, et cetera, yeah. I'm
actually curious to see if there is a bundle for these. I don't think there is.
Probably not yet if they've just
Yeah.
released them.
You're looking at £9, £12, £14. It's all fairly. The fountain's only £4. Like it's all very, very affordable. TT Combat almost always is though.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean the Iron Labyrinth that I didn't properly record because I was still trying to figure everything out. I mean, it was it 25 pounds, and that's a lot of terrain in that. So once I'm done with that, what's that called? Painting competition, and I can start moving on and focusing on other things.
Yeah, I need to get on that.
Hey,
I'm running out of time.
I at least have my base done, so I can start focusing on dots and the weapons at least.
I have more to do than I have time to do. It's been a very hard few weeks over here. Moving on, though. Traders Galaxy, which is the guys behind the Bot Wars game that we've talked about a few times lately, have a couple of things that's happened recently. Firstly, there's some older sculpts that they're releasing as 3D printable files at a much cheaper price, obviously. There is one of the factions is called Democracy, which is definitely not the G.I. Joe. There's another one that is called Snake Corps, which is definitely not Cobra. There's a whole series of stuff that's coming out for those guys as well.
And then there's a Atlantean Thanos.
Yes. There's also a army deal going on at the moment for the Beast Lords, which is definitely not the Dinobots. This is the first time we've seen a couple of those sculpts available to buy. And some of the sculpts from the Kickstarter for the Overlords are on pre-order as well. So there's a couple of Gators there, which are very reminiscent of the Transformers. How familiar are you with the animated movie?
You mean Rodimus Prime, like
yes,
acting like a yeah.
Okay, so underwater, there's the scene where Cup gets pulled apart by the giant tentacle monster. That is definitely reminiscent of the giant tentacle, or tentakill, as they're calling them. And when they do the Bowie grown up Winnie Bob, I'm saying it wrong. I'm sorry, Transformer fans. Scene at the water the first time, they're very reminiscent of those Gatobots. I mean, they're not pure copy, but that's very, very clearly what they're inspired by. So yeah, there's been a few things on that regard.
Yeah, no, the stuff looks good. I would be interested. I have too much going on. I don't know. You have no idea what I'm talking about with that though, right? I mean, no. There's no such thing as too much, right?
No, definitely not. No, definitely not. I have more games than I have.
If I point just right, you can see my stack of shame there behind my head.
You can't see my stack of shame. Oh, actually, you can see part of it. If I point, there is a brand new box that hasn't been touched for about a month and a half, which is my giant rat demony guy thingy. I can't remember what they're called. Vermin Lord. The terrain portal things I have in a box. They are not touched either. My whatever the permanent spell things are called, I've got those that are not touched. I have a brand new box of Necromunda models that haven't been touched. Yeah. But moving on, this next one's weird. This caught my eye because I've never really seen anybody try to do this before. I'm not saying it's new. I'm sure somebody has. Somebody's created a game that you play via text message. It's a role-playing game. The example they use here, very much feels like it's thriller, not so much horror, but definitely thriller side of things. The example on this is that it's called Alice Goes Missing. Or sorry, Alice is Missing. And so it's a role-playing game that you play with your friends via text message. So everything that you do in-game has to fit within text messages. I kind of like this idea.
That's kind of cool. My question is, does everyone have to have a copy to play?
That's a very good question. I would imagine... So I haven't actually watched the How to Play video.
Yeah.
I would imagine that the DM is going to need a copy.
Oh, that's fantastic. I hear my pager going off. Hang on 1 second, Bruce.
So while he's away, so basically it's kind of set up very similar to a party game, like a murder mystery type thing. At the start, every player will record a secret voicemail, which is to be played at the end of the game, because obviously one of the players is the person that's responsible for whatever it is that's going on. And at the end of it all gets revealed and so on and so forth. But yeah, they've made it available on Roll20, though I will be quiet on my opinions on that website. There's a $10 PDF version available. I didn't even notice that, but that's actually good. It's very unique.
Yeah,
I like new ideas.
I mean, this is really interesting that there's a PDF, physical, like there's 3 different versions, and 2 of them, well, I guess one of them doesn't even exist technically because it's a digital file. So
yeah, which means I could print it out tomorrow and it's really, really easy.
Huh? It is an interesting idea. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like to spend all of our time on Kickstarters, but like I said, it's just when it comes to, because the next 2 things are both terrain things, and we seem to talk about terrain every second day. Everybody's doing terrain. Everybody's doing games at the moment. Everybody's trying to release skirmish stuff. There's a new skirmish game released every 3 seconds, it feels like sometimes. But it's a role-playing game. I mean, new role-playing games are a thing, but I've not personally seen one that's actually specifically designed to work via text message. So
yeah, no,
that's a cool idea.
The other thing that I think is very interesting, July 2020, you get the PDF version. Physical, you get November 2020. So the digital, so yeah, I think that's really interesting that there's 2 different.
We could actually play this. You and I could actually play this with Casey, and we'd get JP on it too. It'd be expensive.
So the what, you could do it over Facebook Messenger.
Oh, true. Actually, that's a good point.
That's texting. So
it kind of reminds me of the role-playing games that used to get played on forums back in the day,
right?
Which was 100% a thing. Do you remember forums?
I do. Here's the other interesting thing: a $300 pledge. You can play with the creator.
Yeah, that was I definitely can't afford that sort of pledge. But somebody would be very happy with that, I suspect.
So next, Troublemaker Games, post-apocalyptic town STL set. So here's a little bit of what's the word I mean? What do you need to kickstart files?
If they're already sculpted, then all you need is money to get paid for them, I guess.
Right. So,
but yeah, there's a lot of these going on at the moment.
Yeah. So it's just like, where are we looking here? So £10 for 15. So and it's STL files only. So you're paying like
Yep.
$20-$30 for something, and then you have to have a what $200 to $500 piece of equipment in order to effectively use these files.
Yeah, pretty much. This appears to
mean-
be their fourth Kickstarter. Yeah, fourth Kickstarter. Yeah.
So I'll say this: I'm getting a little tired
First
of
successful
seeing.
one though.
Yeah. Oh, I'm getting a little tired of seeing Kickstarters for terrain of just the STL files you have to download and then print yourself.
Yeah.
Why does? I mean, if you've got the files and you're looking for, I mean, you got to sell them. So why are you doing a Kickstarter?
Yeah.
I don't know.
To me, my impression tends to be that this is an easy way to get attention on the product, which if you don't have much in the way of backing, it's kind of hard to get people looking at it. The other one is very common because most of these ultimately end up going to Patreon at the end of the day, usually at a higher price. But they need to have people talking about their product before anybody's going to buy it, I suppose. It's definitely a thing. The thing I liked about this one in particular is this one's very, very corrugated irony. It's the most Mad Max feeling thing I've seen.
Yeah. It looks like it's fairly modular too, to where you can make your Quonset huts as long as you want.
Yeah, pretty much.
As short as you want, stuff like that. I mean, it's terrain.
There's a Blunder Dome. I had never noticed
Blunder Dome.
But yeah, look, I just thought it was interesting. I'm not trying to do. There's a mini called Bin Face, which is totally not Ned Kelly. I'm trying not to do 3D printing stuff all the time, but when I find something that's out of the ordinary, then I try to share it where I can.
Next, on this one is the
This next
scenery.
one, this got my attention first thing this morning, and I was like, "Oh my, yeah, I really like this."
Yeah, this actually looks really good.
Yeah, so this is a modular system that you can either back to get physically or as a 3D printable file. There's no paper, there's no cardboard. It's all tempered hardboard, the physical version of this. It's all pre-painted. So there is no painting. All you have to do is put it together.
Yeah.
They're all available. It's basically flat pack stuff with unique clips. They just click together. The clips look like they're part of the building. So if you're looking at the pictures there, the brickworks on the corners is actually part of the clips. There is
where everything stacks together, I would assume then.
Yes. Yep. There's scatter terrain for like air conditioning ducts and bins and fences and so on and so forth.
Fire escape and ladders.
Yeah.
This is really cool looking stuff right here, I think.
Yeah. There's I am very, very tempted by this. I would not be going for the printed version. So, I mean, I won't be going for the physical. I would be going for the 3D printed one. But... Oh, and there's a Ruins version as well. So you could actually use this for 40k if you wanted to.
And chain link fence. I think that's really cool. You don't see a lot of fence, terrain options. So that's pretty cool.
They do have a playmat, so it's a neoprene playmat in their add-ons, which is priced fairly okay-ish.
Well, I have to laugh at this because it's a 6 foot by 4 foot. And
Yeah.
What is the largest game in the world done? They've moved away from the 6 foot by 4 foot.
Yeah, I know, but realistically, it's not the only game that's out there. It's actually double-sided as well, though. So on one side, it's a city board, and on the other, it's asphalt. Asphalt? Yeah, asphalt.
I'm sorry, it's what? Asphalt.
That too. There's also a 3x3 mat for those of us that would like to play Marvel Crisis Protocol. Oh no, it's 4x4. Never mind. And you can buy signs and that individually. There's sidewalks and all of that sort of. I really, really like this one. This is probably my favorite of the day.
Excuse me again. Yeah, no. As far as a terrain Kickstarter goes, that actually looks really good. The fact that it gives you a couple different options as far as actually getting a physical copy or getting it to where you can make it yourself for cheaper. So, yeah. Is that it?
News-wise, yeah. I mean, there's been a lot going on, but it's all centered around a certain game's new edition that's about to come out, which we might talk about a little later. Otherwise, yeah, that's kind of it.
All right.
Well, that's the issue with everything being closed right now, is that there's only so many stuff they can talk about, I suppose.
Right. Yeah. So let's do. Oh wait, this one.
Trim, glue, prime, paint.
What have you been up to, George?
Well, if you pay attention to the YouTubes, I have put up the second video of me working on the base coat for my Shaltari. I don't know if you've seen it. Let me turn around here real quick.
I haven't seen it since last episode.
So I don't know how much. I mean, this light is washing it out so much. Let me see if I can.
I was doing the same thing last time.
Yeah,
it still shows.
Yeah, so
that's actually showing a lot better than it did last time. It's actually stronger.
Yeah. So I got another couple coats on it. So this is the Vallejo. And it's very interesting how it reacts with the undercoating. I can definitely see why the Vallejo instructions specifically say do a black undercoat, because anything lighter than gray, it doesn't work that well, and I just have this very slight shimmer metallic color on the white section. But
as opposed to the green stuff world that actually did work the other way.
So yes and no, because I never did a white with it. I only did a silver. So the green stuff world may do the same thing with a white base coat. I just never did it. So this is my first time doing the white gray to black radiant undercoat and then putting a color shift on. So that being said, I'm still really happy with how it's turned out. Next is to do the silver for the weapons. Figure out what color I'm going to do the I don't know what it's green in the illustration in the books. The little like
the dome thing.
You know what part? Yeah, the little dome parts. I need to figure out what color I'm going to do those, but I do know what I'm doing for the dots. I linked the that scale 75 red kit.
Yeah.
So as the dots move in from the respective position, it's going to start at yellow and it's going to move into the darker as it goes in on the ship.
Oh, okay. So you're going to make it look like they're transitioning as well. Nice. That's a cool idea.
So I don't know how well you can see it, but you see how the dots start on the outside edge? It's going to start yellow there and then go next color on each piece, and then same on the disc and all the way in until I have dots done.
So you'll be finished at some time before Christmas.
That's my goal. Yes. That being said, the Dreadnought, that's going to take a while to get done. The cruisers and corvettes, I should be able to get whipped out pretty quick. So I will probably start on those so that I can really get the colors down. And I'm excited for this for two reasons. One, it gave me a reason to order scale 75 and get that red set. I also have the blue set coming. I just got to track down the green set, and then I'll have like a good, palette of colors to choose from. Very good quality dropper paints. Two, it'll actually allow me to actually try out my wet palette that I really haven't used much because I haven't been painting much, unfortunately. So
yep, I'm right there with you on that one.
So, but now here comes my next quandary. So, as you see all this God Tear and the Cthulhu Death May Die, those are all miniatures. They're all unpainted miniatures. Now, granted, they are different colored plastic and stuff like that, so you don't technically have to paint them. But
there is an easy way around it if you like. What I'd probably do is maybe just stick to a basic color scheme and then just wash it because it's not competitive. Like just something so that it looks like it's painted.
Yeah. What I may do, since I went through and researched it and found some good airbrush, close to the medium that Games Workshop did for their contrast paints, is I may just prime them, airbrush them that, and just go through and try to contrast paint them as well as I can.
Yeah, that could work.
That being said, I think like the Cthulhu ones, I should have left it out because it actually is a really cool looking mini. The Cthulhu, it's got so many pits and so much texture. It could really showcase how well the contrast paint works. But then there's so many other different things that it might be too busy for contrast. I don't know. So
your other option with that, because it's just a board game, what you could look at doing maybe is picking a color for the good guys and picking a color for the bad guys, and just kind of grayscale-ish in those colors.
Yeah.
That way it's 5 minutes work per mini, but it still looks like it's done. Just an idea.
Yeah. Maybe it's something I could have the kid work on too, and have him work on painting skills. I mean, it is a board game, so
just dry brush it after the washes are dry.
Yeah, so, some paint on it would look just 10 times better than what am I trying to say? Just plastic. So yeah, that's the daunting task that I also have ahead of me, considering that there's the two other games that I have fully backed. That the other Simon Ankh one, I'm going to have so many minis to paint if I do that.
Yep, and you're about to get even more.
Huh? What?
Well, Super Fantasy Brawl's not that far away now.
Yeah. It was Super Fantasy Brawl, literally around the door. Let's see. We just
We're
had
looking
an update
at like
on
a
that.
month and a half at this point, at the most, maybe.
At the most, I want to say
our first game of that, they're going to be unpainted. It's just going to be the way it is.
So yeah, the most recent update was 3 days ago. There is a video of how to play it. There's been a what's that word? Simulator version of the game that you've been able to play digitally, but it's a quick walkthrough. Nothing about the shipping, except everything is still on schedule. So very soon.
Yeah, which is it's positive, but that's it basically. It's positive news.
Yeah. So we've both been looking forward to that since we backed it, and be honest, since we're both getting the same level pledge, I mean, that's something that we could very seriously, like, actually play against each other and not have to like worry about proxying or having two armies or something like that. Because it's not to say that I'm giving up on mini games, like Drop Fleet and stuff like that. But I'm liking these minis board games because it's there. You don't have to go by, all those other things. It's just it's there. So, I worked on an unboxing video today. Obviously, I think I mentioned that. If not,
you did, but not on camera.
Right. So keep your eyes open for that. And that's just stuff to happen. Of do that. And do some games of it. We'll have a little competition. Who does a better unboxing video, Bruce, you or me? Since we're going to be unboxing the same thing here.
Sure, why not?
What have you been not hobbying on?
Well, the big hobby thing that I've done lately has been a huge hobby thing, which is the table I'm sitting at. It's been talked about for months at this point. I do have photos that I've taken of the entire process. I'm going to try and do a write-up on it for the website. But yeah, like the big thing I've spent my time on lately is getting this desk done. And it is done, and I'm very happy with it. If I turn my camera around, it's all of the screens are mounted. Got my sound bar and everything. But I'm very, very happy with how it turned out. It's not perfect, but that's okay. There's a couple of character elements in there that are still quite nice. One of which is a mark right there.
Yeah.
Having
an actual.
Well, it's something that takes time.
Dedicated bench. Yeah. I mean, look how long it took me to get my bench set up.
Well, this has been a problem for me since the moment I moved in. Even before, because even in the old house, I didn't really have much of a space because it was just at the computer desk, which was tiny. So this solves several problems for me. So if I wasn't playing D&D later today, I'd be able to paint. Did you see the post that I definitely didn't do? It was definitely somebody else. About what the podcast expects me to finish by the end of this week?
No. I did not.
I'll bring it up. There was a status that the podcast posted a couple of days ago with pictures of the desk, which says, with his PC desk and hobby table now complete, the Bruce has one less excuse to get hobby done. We therefore demand that he paints an almost entire army of Skaven, a ton of Marvel, and those Eldar and Warcry minis he hasn't touched yet before the end of the week. Get to work, Bruce, or it's a booting for you.
Oh. Well, that's pretty self-deprecating of you.
I do that regularly. I never share my own hobby stuff without having a go at myself. It's just the way that I am.
So,
the downside of that is there's a strong possibility that I'm not going to finish my pledge for the painting competition before it finishes. I don't see how I'm going to get it done. I'm definitely going to try, and obviously submit what is finished. But I think you might win this by default, as opposed to me winning it by default originally because you hadn't entered.
Right. Yeah. Well, I've done that, and I have a base coat, and I'm ready to start doing all the dots.
Yeah.
All of the dots. So you could still win if I can't get all the dots done, because if your detail is further along than my dots, there's so many dots.
Get to work.
Tied on incomplete. Hush, JP. I'm starting to dislike this Patreon access now with the peanut gallery comments.
Shall we move into game talk? And have
game
a little
talk.
bit of a chat.
talk nerdy to me.
Speaking of progress on Drop Zone Commander, my progress has not moved anywhere in about a year and a half. It's all still unpainted, sitting in a pile somewhere. So we kind of alluded to this earlier. Oh, you've got a...
Yeah,
yep.
well, I was just going to say, I did have a completely painted fleet, and then I stripped all the paint off it to repaint it.
Yes.
So that's my problem.
I painted over the top of my old paint scheme. Like, literally, I didn't bother stripping it because it just wasn't a huge option.
So I stripped mine because it was a spray silver base coat, and then just caked on like a blue wash to give it a blue metallic look. So I stripped it off to get rid of that excess blue wash that didn't add like the Clarence Mini look, but I didn't want to start adding more paint on top of that. So
yeah, I was kind of... Stripping is not really an option I've really had for this because I wasn't going to get it done in the time frame when I've never stripped minis before. Conversation for another day. Warhammer is... Well, 40k is preparing for 9th edition, and we've got... Look, not going to be a huge conversation, just like... There's been a few things that's been announced, some of which the community has gone, other which the community has gone, I mean, well, ultimately, it's really too early to say anything about the game at this point, but just an initial conversation, I guess. So
I'm going to start here real quick. With when 8th edition came out, there was the core books that came out, and they said, this is it. This is the core. Everything that's going to change after this will be via codex.
Which I don't think they're doing this time. Yeah.
Yeah, so and now we have 9th edition. So I know I heard that somewhere. I know I read that somewhere. I know it was talked about.
Yeah, but they was talking specifically about 8th edition at the time. They never said there'd never be another edition.
Well, no, that's what they said. The way I understood it when they were talking about that was they said that this was it, and all changes from here on out were going to be through the codex. And I think you're
overthinking what they said. No, I know what you're saying, but I think you're overthinking their comment because that is what happened. Because the game was released, everybody had rules, and then every codex drop happened, and then it all changed. That is how the game worked, but that doesn't mean that they were never going to do a new edition for a game.
Yeah. So
the big thing that they've released this week is a hint on Overwatch being changed. So Overwatch appears to be something you have to pay for now, as opposed to just being a blanket rule.
From what I saw, you have to spend command points in order to do Overwatch.
Yep. So Fire Overwatch is 1 command point. However, Overwatch itself has changed as well. This is massively going to impact gunline armies. So the Tau community are up in ears. Not up in ears, up in arms, rather. But here's my take on it. And I know you've heard part of this already, George, so I do apologize. There's a couple of things that 40k have not gotten right for editions at this point. Overwatch is one of them. It's either been completely useless or massively underpowered in every edition since it was introduced. Tau have been a problem for the game in some people's opinions. I don't think Tau are as broken as people make them out to be, personally. But they've been a problem for competitive players for a long time. And Overwatch was a huge part of that because George charges me with his single unit of whatever it is, and my entire army gets to shoot at it for nothing. And it's not quite as simple as that. But the other side of the coin is that combat hasn't really worked properly for editions either. I mean, I'm an old Blood Angels player. Granted, the tactics of Blood Angels have changed a lot now, but back when it was a close combat army, you never got to combat because you were destroyed before you got into close combat almost every time. And that wasn't just a Tau thing; that was an everybody thing. It's something rules. I mean, I'm not hating on the game, but 40K has not been a perfect. It is not a perfect game. It never will be a perfect world. The perfect game doesn't exist. But I don't have a problem with them trying to change this because it hasn't worked. They need to change this. And realistically, I mean, Blood Angels used to be Death Company, Assault Marines, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Now you pretty much don't use any of that in Blood Angels, which really sucks because they were the favorites for me. It's one of the reasons why I sold everything. I mean, it's just Tau's turn that their tactics are going to change. Just because your Overwatch isn't what it used to be, unless it is what it used to be, because there's nothing that says that they can't add stratagems specifically for Tau to get around it. But I suspect what you're going to have is that your actual game strategy is going to have to change, like everybody else's has had to. Tau haven't had to change their strategy since, 5th edition. No, 6th edition. When the Riptide came out. They really haven't had to change their strategy since the Riptide.
Yeah.
Like minor changes, but that's about it.
Yeah. I mean, that being said, the one thing that was announced and released with 9th edition that I liked, it will help cut down on the soup, as it's called.
Yeah.
And this is where like you take words are hard. So you take God, what do they call them?
The drones?
No. Like your outrider detachment. Your detachment. You take like 3 different detachments from 3 different armies to maximize effectiveness because of that stuff. And now they're one thing they're talking about in 9th is giving more benefits to. You only have Space Wolves in your army, so you get this benefit because you don't have extra detachments from other armies. So
which was something that was supposed to happen with 8th edition and just never did.
Well, no, because they had this whole detachment thing, and that was still just a thing. That being said, my Space Wolves, the way I have it planned out, I will always have a Knight detachment once I get that Iron Wolf finished. The other thing I did like when I saw the some of the stuff, Primaris stuff for 9th, was it makes my idea of doing the Dark Angels a little more viable because they release Primaris spikes. I do like the looks of those. Part of me does want to get the little ATV thing and paint it up like the Puma with Griff and Simmons.
I like that idea. I love the memes regarding the vehicle you're talking, like the giant go-kart. And I get why people it's a very bland looking bike, which is why people are going, oh, it's so boring. I actually it fits with everything they've been doing. I mean, it has no suspension, but that's okay. The Sky Raven doesn't have wings that work. It's a flying brick. None of the vehicles in 40K make any sense at all. You can't tell me that this is only just starting to occur to you now. Sorry,
the Land Raiders. Yes. The Land Raiders, I thought they made kind of sense.
You mean the giant tractor?
The one where it has the opening in the front, or they can exit from the side behind weapon sponsons.
Yeah, I was calling it a tractor because that's in canon what it actually was originally.
Oh, okay.
Or am I thinking of the Rhino? I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't. But the Land Raider I thought made sense. The Storm Wolf, the Space Wolf only flying transport.
Their version of the sense. Storm Raven.
Yeah. Which, yeah. So,
for the record, I love the Storm Raven. It was one of my favorite things. But it doesn't work conceptually. Like, if you tried to make that fly, it would not. The Storm Wolf or whatever it was called wouldn't either. But that's fine.
Yeah.
It's fiction. It doesn't have to make sense. And hey, if you want to make it a go-kart, make it a go-kart. Buy 10 of them, paint one as Wario, send it to me in the mail. We'll do our own double... no, we need to buy a whole heap of them. We need to do Mario Kart Double Dash. We need to do this now. No, I'm on board with your idea.
Yeah. The other thing I will say is I do like how they are fleshing out the Primaris line.
Yes, they needed to do that quite desperately.
Now, what I don't like about them fleshing out the Primaris line is, what does that say for all of this other existing stuff? Now, granted, like some of your special characters will still be used and stuff like that. What about the normal TAC Marines? Are they losing their place in the game now?
Potentially, but it's going to depend on how the rules work.
I mean, yeah. So, and I mean, sure, a rules edition change is a great way to make money because everyone has to buy books. I think I believe they announced that this is the first time that everything will also be available digitally for this edition as well.
Yes, which is again editions overdue. They did this with the Age of Sigmar already. I don't understand why it wasn't already happening with 40K.
Dollar signs. I mean, mass producing books. The more you make of something, the cheaper it is.
Yeah, but they sell them for they're making a bigger profit on the digital stuff, like massively bigger profit.
Well, yeah, and I think another part of that was too is, while a majority of the community did have that technology, there's still some people that don't have that technology. So
that is true, but they're not saying that they're going to stop making books.
No, they're not. I think they're just realizing that there's enough of the community now that has this technology that they're going to support all of it on this technology.
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
I mean, 9th edition. I'm actually keen to see how 9th edition goes. I mean, I can't say I'm as excited about 9th edition right now as I was about 8th edition when it was first came out. But to be fair, 8th edition didn't end up delivering on the promises that it made to me, which is why I never ended up playing it.
Yeah. So, and what they were trying to do is they were trying to pull from the success of what Age of Sigmar has seen with the way the rules are set up. Age of Sigmar is so much more successful with the rules that they have right now than when it was first launched, because they made a foolish choice to do a lot of testing with that and killed the way fantasy worked.
They made a foolish decision and they tried to make it Magic the Gathering, but with minis.
Right.
I didn't have a problem with it, but I can understand why people did. And for those with the salt, I turn around to you and look at you in the camera and say, it's time to get over it. Age of Sigmar is a good game. Whether you want to play it or not, it's a good game.
Yeah, the problem is for the people. I know a guy. He had to redo an entire army because of the way the rules changed, though. So that I can understand.
But that happens. That happens in every game. That's Games Workshop in a nutshell. It always has been.
So, yeah. Well, not with fantasy. Fantasy never did that before. This is
the power creep.
Yeah. Well, not so much the power creep as because
power creep's always been a problem. It's what I hate most about the company.
Well, yeah, no, I'm talking like the way they went from the rank and file to the skirmish for the entire game.
Oh, because everything's new bases and stuff.
Yeah. So that's what the problem was, because a lot of people were frowned upon from showing up with the square bases because that allowed for easier pile-in, because a square base is shorter on some sides than... But
at the same time, the rules specifically said that they didn't have to do it.
Oh, yeah. So, and that's where some...
to be fair, it's like, round bases look nicer too. Again, sorry, but it's a fact.
Unless it's rank and file, and then it looks pretty. And I don't think there's anything better than a bunch of what's that called? Dwarves, all ranked and file, wearing armor, just moving as a massive unit to wreak havoc.
Yeah, and look, for those that still want to play rank and file, ninth edition was created by the fans for a reason. And hey,
yeah.
Kings of War is an amazing game.
Yeah,
look at Kings of War.
But my digression onto that was that they were saying we're trying to pull all the success of Sigmar into 40K, and they didn't. They did. It was like, oh, cool. So it's going to be kind of like this, and they're not doing that. Why? That's the brilliant thing. That was the one thing that I loved about Sigmar was at the start of a turn, you roll dice. Whoever rolled highest, they went. So you can have the bottom, and then you go on the top and have an advantage. Versus you're either always behind because your opponent goes before you, and the randomness of the game. And sometimes it sucks. Sometimes it's great. But I really liked how that worked. The other thing I did not like about 8th edition initially that I am kind of liking, but it's still hard with some of the army builds, is the way they're doing units, like an outrider detachment. You have to have so many fast attacks, and then
I've had problems with the detachments from the moment they were introduced in 7th edition. To be fair, they fixed most of the issues that I had, but I still had problems with them. Just conceptually, I've had a problem with that from day one. Because it was designed to be broken. And when you design a game to be broken, it gets broken, and then people don't have fun.
Mm-hmm. Because there's always that person that takes the game too seriously and too competitively. And I'm going to say this because there's a person that, he's constantly posting, looking for games, and I don't want to go play because of how he plays.
Yeah. I mean, we all know that person. I know that person as well. And I will not play with that person either. In fact, I know that person twice. One of which has been caught cheating in Malifaux more than once, therefore I won't play with him. And another one who I caught bragging about destroying new people to games that I will not play with.
Right.
The person, who I will not name, not that he listens, that I know of, the person that is the reason why I will not touch Warmer Hordes. Because I know it's not just him that's like it. Look, for me, the biggest problem I had with the 8th edition is when 8th edition was brought, it was promised to be a different game. It was going to be a balanced game. Everything was going to be even. And the moment that the very first codex came out, that promise was underwater.
Stopped.
They're never going to deliver that. And I know that. I'm not expecting them to deliver what they should deliver because they're not capable of it. And that's fine because they don't want to make games. They want to make models. And the way they do business is how they sell their stuff. I get that. It's fine. It's their strategy.
Yeah.
It's just not the way I like games to be. In saying that, it's highly likely I'm buying Necrons. Like,
really?
100%. I've already been looking at them. And there was only one reason why I hadn't bought them already. Because the models were all boring and I was going to get sick of painting them. It's likely I'm going to buy these. It doesn't mean I'm going to play. See, as opposed to the Eldar that I brought and made the joke about earlier, I was never going to buy an Eldar army. I bought those as a painting project, which I haven't touched. But I'm not building an Eldar army. I had an Eldar army that I bought secondhand once, played with it a few times and got rid of it because it just doesn't suit my gaming style. I'm not going to be playing Eldar. I love Eldar, and there's certain things in Eldar that I absolutely love. The Fire Prism is possibly my most favorite vehicle in the game, even now.
God, if shipping wasn't so expensive, I would just send you some.
What, Eldar?
Yeah, so Eldar. When I was going through and cleaning my house...
Oh, that's right, you found an army. I forgot about that.
Yeah, I found an Eldar army like 90% unpainted, and I'm like, huh, I have an Eldar army. Huh.
I forgot about that. But yeah,
right, so
I'm not sitting
JP,
here saying that I'm
Eldar?
getting. I'm not saying that I'm getting back into 40k. I'm not saying that I'm not either, because I've been going back and forth on this pretty much since we started. Because I was almost going to build a Catachan army at one point. At one point when I first saw the Howling Banshees, I went, "Ooh, maybe I could buy an Eldar army." Yeah.
I found a box, by the way, so I should be getting that out in the post to you here soon.
I got to pay for it first. But in saying that, Necrons are cool. They just are.
So,
and there's no more green rods.
See, so now here's where the hate's going to come at me. I bet. I like the green rods.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people did. I don't actually. I was deliberately baiting you there. I don't have huge. Like, they were good when they first started, but I don't think they've aged very well. Because the stuff without the green rods that's available now makes the older stuff look really bad.
Yeah. So, but if I were to do an Necron army, I could probably do, I'd have it painted in like 2 weeks. Because I just rattle can everything silver. And then I dunk it in a quick shade. And get that cleaned off to where, it was properly covering the model. And then dry brush it. Guess what? That's done. Oh, you paint the eyes. Yeah. Do some weapon detail. It's done.
About the only thing I'm holding off on at this point is, well, I'm still tempted by Catachan, but the Catachan models are so old. It's the same problem as the old Necrons.
Yeah. So I was actually looking. So to side note again, right? So I've got a Slime Arbor on the way. I've got a Colonel. And I was just like, ooh. So I started looking through, and I was just like, oh, I could just have like a little cool, Catachan, like maybe actually spend the money and have someone do a really good job of painting it and just have it sit there. But then I look through, and it's just like there's the other Colonel that's got like the bionic arm and like half his rib cage. And then the
Takan or whatever his name is. He's amazing.
Yeah. They're still metal. Don't get me wrong. I don't hate on metal minis.
I do.
But the plastic ones look so much better, and they've done Sly because it's Sly, and then they've done this, special release. They better be doing the other two characters for the Catachan.
I think the Catachan needs a complete new release, and if that happens, I will buy and I will play. But I think if that was going to happen, it probably would have already. And it's Colonel Ironhand Strachan that you were talking about.
Yeah. And then there's the sergeant that's got like the big machine gun.
The giant gun. Yeah.
Yeah. So like for sure, if those two are plastic, I'd want to get those two as well. And even if they just sit on the box, just have those 4 boxes of those guys for, whatever.
Yeah.
Because, yeah.
I'm excited to see what happens with 9th edition, mainly because when 8th edition came out, it did genuinely bring a lot of people back to the hobby. Like, people talk about how it brought new people to the hobby. I'm not convinced that it did. I think it's just people returning to the game. Because the one thing that you found in your area was that a lot of people that were playing the game you wanted to play went back to 40k. Exactly the same thing happened everywhere else.
Yeah.
That's the only downside of this, which is that as much as they're trying to make moves, most of the moves they're making aren't attracting huge new people to the hobby. It's just restructuring where the current people are. I mean, we are getting new people in the hobby, but not to the ground that I think the most of us want.
Yeah. Yeah. I will say this though. I was already set on getting back into it and doing Space Wolves before 8th edition was announced. I started getting it back in 7th, and like literally a month and a half later, they're like, "Oh, hey, we're doing 8th," and I'm like, "Oh, so what should I be getting then?"
Yeah.
Or no, I got back in right at 8th because I got two halves of the Dark Imperium box. That's how I got back. So yeah, 8th edition did bring me back.
8th edition made me buy in because initially I said that I was getting back into the game, and I went back on that once the codexes started getting released. Because my Blood Angels had been on the army just before it was announced, and then I went, "Ooh, okay, maybe I shouldn't sell them because this actually looks really exciting." And genuinely, it did. Like I said, 8th edition when it was first released was released as a balanced game, and the promise was that it was going to stay that way, but it didn't. Which is why I still ended up selling my Blood Angels. I have no regrets. Well, I don't regret selling my Blood Angels, but at the same time, I do. So the thing is, in order for my Blood Angels to have worked, I would have had to have rebrought most of it anyway, because even though I'm saying Blood Angels, you really have to play with the Primaris to make them actually work. And that's not what I would have wanted to do. Because if I was going to do that, I may as well buy a new army anyway. But look, yeah, I'm back in it. Well, at this particular point in time, me getting back in from a model standpoint is happening. I already have several people lined up to buy the Space Marines half of the box. It's just going to depend on what the price is, which I suspect is going to annoy me. But that'll be a discussion for another day.
I actually haven't looked at that box yet.
It's a good quality box. I would not say that it's the best box that they've ever released, which is what they're saying. It's a good quality box though. Everything in the box is new. It comes with a hell of a lot of stuff in it. A limited edition rulebook, which I don't really care about. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how it goes.
See, where's it at? No. Are
you looking for the box contents?
Yes, I'm looking for the box itself. New release, there we go, right? No. Ooh, okay, can we go back for a second and talk about the new Fabius Bile mini?
Sure.
That looks amazing. I had one of the old pewter ones, and I thought that was one of the coolest ones back in the day. This looks flat out amazing. I have not seen the box. Where's the box? Thank you, Bruce. So much dead air right now.
Helps if I press the button. Okay, so you got a Primaris Captain, which is very similar to the ones that was in the video. There's a Primaris Lieutenant, because of course there's a Primaris Lieutenant. There's a new Chaplain. The Judicar, and I still can't figure out why that Judicar is not a Chaos Marine, but anyway.
Yeah, that's...
Blade Guard Veterans, which is the equivalent of your Honor Guard now, or at least appears to be. There's a Blade Guard Ancient, which is a guy with a flag. Eradicators, which is guys with heavy plasma. Assault Intercessor Squads, which is the new guys with the chainswords. And your biker guys, as in the regular biker guys. I actually do like the new bikers, by the way.
Yeah.
The Necrons, you get the brand new Overlord.
Yeah, Bruce.
You get it. Yep.
So we just need to figure out how to, you and I just split the box, because I'll take your Marines.
Yeah, but it would cost me more to ship it to you than what they're worth.
Right, yeah, no, that's the problem. Stupid thing called the Pacific Ocean.
Yeah, I know, right? There's a Royal Warden, which is the other character for the Necrons that comes with it. Plasmancer, which is a stupid name for anything. Although I do like the model. Because he looks like he's kind of floating. The Crypto Thralls, which rumors suggest they might be the replacements for Flayed Ones. I don't know if that's true or not. But we'll see. Okay. The Skorpek Lord, which is the giant monster at the end of the video. And then the Skorpek Destroyers, which is the other guys with the blades in the video. And then the Plasmacite, which is the cutest Necron thing I've ever seen. He's just so cute. He's standing on a little rock with a scarab on it. He's got this little head that's hanging out of a shell. He's cute. And then you got the Canoptic Reanimator, which apparently is literally that. It's something that helps reanimate your enemies. Sorry, your troops. And then there's a picture of scarabs. The scarabs come with the warriors. So it's like, as far as value is concerned, depending on what the price is, like it's a good box set. I don't think this should be a limited box set. I think it's not, but this should have been the starter set. It should have been.
Oh, is it going to be a limited box?
This is a limited box. Again.
Oh, that's lame.
Yeah. I have a feeling that starter set-wise, all they're going to do is swap the book out of the current one, and they'll just re-release Dark Vengeance. Which is so exciting. I mean, I didn't buy that box set for a reason, so...
Yeah. I will say this. The bikes, it depends. I don't know how I want to do my Dark Angels army. I've got the one half of the Shadow Spear, and then I found out that I had the great idea of doing the Ambot conversions as a what are the Space Marines and the Space Marine armor? The big ones.
The Space Marine inside a Space Marine.
Yeah, what were they called? The
it starts with C.
Yeah. No, it does start with C, and I cannot remember what it's called. They're the big ones. They're the big ones. What are they called? This is how terrible we are, Bruce. We're talking about a game that, and we don't. I will say that the new Primaris Lieutenant in Phobos armor does look pretty good, pretty cool pose as I go by it. What are they called? Centurions.
That's it.
So I was going to do Ambots instead of Centurions as Centurions, and then I found out that it doesn't look like Dark Angels can take Centurions. And the reason why I want to do Dark Angels is so I can do the Lion and Wolf stratagem, because I already have Space Wolves. So if I'm going to do another army, I'm going to do something like that, where there's a stratagem that says if you have these two armies. So, I think we've talked about this for a while now, though. So,
look, as I said, it's too early to really know anything that's happening with this. All we've seen is tiny, minute teasers. And yes, sorry, it was Melta. It wasn't Plasma. Sorry. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with the game. I don't expect that this edition of the game is going to fix the biggest problem I've always had with 40k. But that's fine. This game is not for me. But I'm probably buying. Like Necrons wise, at least anyway. And it just means that, hey, maybe I'll have a casual game with my mates occasionally, and because I actually will be able to.
Yeah.
Or hey, maybe I'll just buy stuff and it sits in the box.
Right. I probably will get the Executioner guy, because that's such an awesome looking mini. And how he's not chaos, I don't know. But yeah. Yeah.
The new models are a good step forward, because the old ones had no character and didn't fit into the world that they were supposed to be living in. So they're fixing that problem.
Yeah.
But otherwise, events.
Upcoming events.
Okay, so Gen Con is cancelled. We knew that already. However, like I said last fortnight, they are doing an online event still on the same dates, July 30th until the 2nd of August. You can get the details of that at the Gen Con website, gencon.com. PAX Australia 2 days ago also announced that it's cancelled. I might have cried a little bit on the inside. They are
you were
also
doing the
doing an
drop weight of
online
that,
thing.
right?
I was planning to, yes.
Yeah.
So they are also doing something online, October 9th till October 11th. You can get details at online.paxsite.com. However, there is an actual in-person event that's happening in the Netherlands. Yay, it's the Netherlands. That's not very helpful to us. But it's being hosted by our friend Michelle, so that's all right. 1,000-point drop fleet tournament. 9 a.m. July 11th in Nijmegen. It's being hosted by Thunder Terrain, which shouldn't really surprise us. The event details can be found within the Drop Fleet Commander Community Facebook page. And just on a side note to Lewis, if he's listening, in the Rumble Slam Facebook page, there's a thing that tells everybody where everybody lives, and you should sticky it into the group so that people can find it all the time, because I keep on losing the thread. But otherwise, I think that's it.
I think so. Thank you to our Patreon supporters. You can find that at patreon.com/gettingtabled. We're actually running a lot of stuff through there now. I think, what was it? That we put the video version of this up through there. Yeah. Then we launched the video version and the audio version same day to the public. JP says it's 10,000% worth it. So, thank you, JP. That's another thing you get to do if you are a Patreon supporter. You actually get to listen to this live as we record it. And since we are doing a video, you get to see us record. We just need to figure out how to minimize the tiles. No offense, JP. We love you here, but you're kind of ruining our little thing here with our logo and the two of us and Socks when he's back, and hopefully he does a cam. So, no, you're fine. You're fine. It's the little things that I'm going to worry about. Facebook.com/gettingtabled. We run everything through there. I swear, I'm going to start tweeting more.
Yeah, I need to as well. Yeah. I was actually going through our Twitter yesterday.
I got on Twitter the other day and then got off.
Our Twitter is at gettingtabled. Yeah, phrasing. The website is gettingtabled.weebly.com. I don't know if we actually said what the Patreon is, but it's patreon.com/gettingtabled. Look,
I did.
Anything that you can help, please do. It's $2 a month. Literally, it's $2 a month. And you get early access to literally everything that we do. So thank you to everybody that supports us.
Yeah, and that being said, if you have your own website thing or something like that we were talking with Alan about, if you support us through that and you have that and we do it at that level, we will do advertising for you as well. Advertising does a lot. So
it's we're the only reason that the Hot LG ever got off the ground.
Hot LZ.
That's what I said.
I heard LG. No, whatever. Anyways, I mean, I'm enjoying this one a lot. This venture a lot more, just because we could talk about more stuff. There's a couple stories about that, JP. I'm enjoying this a lot more. I appreciate everyone who's tuning in and watching and checking this out. I'm having more fun. It's we can talk about different topics and stuff like that. So I'm enjoying this, and if you're here listening, I hope you enjoy it too as much as I'm enjoying doing it. So
Thank you, everyone. Thank you as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
For listening to Getting Tabled. Music used in this podcast was created by Eric Matthias at soundimage.org.
Play more games.
Okay, JP. So